How much should live streaming services cost? In this video, I'm going to break down for you exactly what we do for pricing our live stream offerings and give you some real world numbers. Don't go anywhere. Zeph Moses Blacksburg here, and thanks for checking out this video. I'm looking into my crystal ball and it tells me that you're going to like this video, so why not get that done with now? Hit that like and subscribe button down below for me. It would really mean the world to me. Let's get down to brass tacks on pricing and how much you can start charging if you're just breaking into the live streaming biz, or even if you have been doing this for some time. I'm going to skip the fluff and I won't talk about what live streaming is, why you should be doing it, etc. I'm going to assume that for this video, you're trying to figure out 3 key things. 1, how much should you charge for live streaming? 2, how much you can reasonably profit after expenses? And 3, how in the world are you coming up with these numbers? So part 1, how much should you be charging for live streaming? The answer is, it depends. And I know you hate that answer, but just as a young up-and-coming band might only be able to charge $20 a ticket to a concert, whereas big names like U2, Coldplay, or the Rolling Stones, who are all house names and have been around the block a few times, can charge upwards of $200 or even $300 a ticket, it's all going to come with experience, time, and ultimately the results that you can drive for a client. With that said, there are 2 methods for pricing that you'll see anytime you search online. It comes down to pricing based on time or pricing based on value. If you're pricing based on time, you typically see either an hourly rate, a half-day rate, or a full-day rate, and what that includes. If you price based on value, you might see some out-of-this-world number like $25,000 for just one project. I prefer to go with the hybrid route when pricing my live streaming services, and here's why. When I put a team together for a stream, I'm typically paying my labor on an hourly basis with a minimum of at least 3 hours to make sure it's worth someone's time, even for a smaller project. Simply throwing out an arbitrary number doesn't make a ton of sense for contracted 1099 workers, especially since their value can really only be determined based on what they're actually doing. I can't prove that my camera operator Dave is going to be responsible for X amount of dollars coming in for a nonprofit. Just as I can't guarantee that Susie on sound, yes, I realize that sounds funny because the alliteration, is going to be responsible for donors bringing in an additional $10,000. It's just not quantifiable. So from a labor standpoint, I'm simply paying an hourly rate, and this will be included in my overall quote to the client. Here are some typical prices I might bill for, and keep in mind these are from arrival to departure, including setup and breakdown time. I'm not skimping on paying out any of my workers. For a live stream director, which usually is me, I'll bill $150 per hour. I arrived at this number because for a long time I've billed $125 per hour for filming on my regular video production work, and I've found that overall most experienced videographers bill between $100 to $175 per hour for their work. So in an 8-hour day, which usually winds up being around 12 hours for a full event, including setup and breakdown, I'm instantly walking away with $1,800, and on a half day of 4 hours with an additional 2 to 3 hours of setup and breakdown time, I'm easily walking away with $1,000. This is where I get to my base number. I consider this my I won't get up out of bed for less than this number. For a technical director and or producer who might be assisting me by calling the show, putting graphics on screen, or helping with the overall execution, I'm charging $125 per hour. I figured that this price should be relatively in alignment with mine, but at a little less due to not having as much responsibility and the fact that they aren't really project managing until the day of. For a videographer, I bill $110 per hour. A production assistant, $90 per hour. And if we need something simple like a teleprompter operator or anything else, I might bill $75 per hour. Keep in mind, these are all prices billed to the client, not the exact number that is being paid out to the contractor. These are all in alignment with what we've seen local companies charge with 5 to 10 years or more of experience. Question number 2. How much can you reasonably profit after expenses? With these prices in mind, let's talk about the price that's actually paid out to the contractor, and then we'll start talking about where the value-based pricing comes in. In general, I'm taking 20 to 25% off the top of the hourly fees that I'm charging my clients for each role, including producer or technical director, camera operators, and production assistants. So a producer that I bill $125 per hour for might be making $90 to $100. A camera operator that I bill $110 per hour for might be making $80 per hour. This is common business practice to have a buffer to cover your overhead, like expenses in doing taxes and sending out 1099s at the end of the year, running payroll to send checks out to your contractors, admin time to fill out any paperwork, and this could even include the money you'll need to buy lunches for your team, uniforms if you have company shirts, and more. So don't think that this is simply going straight back into your pocket. This is meant to offset other costs that you incur on a gig. If you have one technical director, 2 camera operators, and a production assistant, this could mean potentially profiting another $100 per hour or $1,000 per day simply off of charging with this overhead or margin in mind. How cool is that? We just found an instant $1,000 that was missing from your business per day. Even if you worked 2 gigs a week for the next year and took off the entire month of December for a vacation, you'd still be earning an additional $96,000 per year to cover your overhead expenses, and ultimately what is left could be a bonus for yourself, your team, and beyond. So that covers how we use hourly billing on our pricing with some real-world numbers. Now let's shift over to the value side of the business. There's a famous saying of, if I do a job in 30 minutes, it's because I spent 10 years learning how to do that in 30 minutes. You owe me for the years, not for the minutes. Now, if you ask me, I think that could be said a little bit nicer, but the principle holds true. We spend a lot of time investing in our craft. For some, it's college education. For others, it's simply years of doing this as a professional. With that in mind, if you are bringing a result to your client, like helping them raise $100,000 for their nonprofit, or helping a corporation increase their visibility to an audience of 14,000 new audience members, it's only fair that you should be compensated for that. The problem is, there is no possible way to make an estimate of what numbers you'll get unless you've done this for years, and it's a recurring client so you know what to expect. There's no possible way that with a new client, I could say, hey John, for your nonprofit, we're going to help you raise an additional $250,000 over what you did last year. It's just not possible for you to guarantee numbers like that when the live stream depends on that nonprofit being a darn good marketing company. Hint, it's rare that they are. I still know though that my services are fantastic, and I'm going to roll out the red carpet for my client. I still know that when they call me at 10 at night the evening before their big event, frantic because they need this to work, I'm going to answer. So taking all of those things in mind, I need to price accordingly. Where the struggle happens is creating a number that is realistic, fair, and justified. So we found a different way to charge for our value that can easily be justified when talking to a client. Think about when you walk into a restaurant and you order a nice cheeseburger. Let's say the burger costs $12, and then the fries are an additional $4, and you grab an ice cold beer for an additional $5. This totals around $25 after taxes. Now, when you got your receipt, was there a line item for toilet paper in the bathroom? For soap at the sink? For the air conditioning bill because it's the middle of summer? What about the UFC pay-per-view fight that's on the TV that night, or the subscription to the football games? What about the electricity bill? The free Wi-Fi? Of course, none of those things are on the receipt because they are all wrapped into the cost of that burger. Someone somewhere sat down and said, the beef is X amount, the bun is X amount, the toppings cost X amount, the time it takes the chef to cook is this amount, the Wi-Fi we pay X amount per month and we see X amount of guests in a month. All of these numbers are baked in. The restaurant isn't charging line by line, but they did the math on it way back when and then baked the price in. We like to do the same thing with our live streaming services because we had to buy a live stream switcher, we had to buy a live stream encoder, the cameras, the tripods, the business insurance, the gas to get to the gig, the laptops, the microphones, all of these things that added value to the project had a cost at one point. So we typically bill $150 per day for a manned camera, $100 a day for an unmanned camera, $150 a day for a teleprompter, $50 for a laptop, $25 for a microphone, $100 per day for a wireless hotspot for backup internet, The list goes on, and you can make an Excel sheet for yourself so that you can charge consistently over time. I personally run down my Excel sheet and put in the quantity of each item I'll need for the gig, and then using simple addition, the Excel sheet spits out a number of what to charge for equipment. We even went as far as to add in our labor and have it calculate the rate times hours so we can give a client one price. We don't itemize our invoices to show every little charge, just as a restaurant doesn't either. The receipt just says burger, fries, beer. What if there was a Wi-Fi charge on the bill? You know, people will complain and say, well, we didn't use the Wi-Fi, take that charge off. For that exact reason, we don't afford the client the a la carte type of menu because it's our job to cover our expenses to make this live stream happen. This leads me to the last and final question. How in the world are you coming up with these numbers? On the labor side, I already mentioned that we bill industry comparable rates that we found over the last 10 years to be similar to other professionals with experience. But how did I know to bill $150 a day for a teleprompter or $100 per day for a camera? We justify these prices by examining how much use an item will get in a year and how quickly we can pay off that item. Let's say you buy a Blackmagic A10 Mini Extreme for $1,000 to live stream with. For me personally, I want to make sure that this unit gets paid off in 3 to 5 gigs. This allows us not to carry debt for very long, and it allows us to continue to grow when we need to buy more gear. 30% of $1,000 is $300. And that's how we arrived at our price of $300 for the live stream switcher and encoder per gig. For something like a teleprompter, hint hint, go check out my other video that I did on my favorite travel teleprompter. I might have spent around $500 to get it, and if I want to pay it off in 3 to 5 projects again so that we aren't holding on to debt for long, and since we know that it will have some wear and tear, we can take the 30% number again, which gives us an even $150 per day. Now, there are some prices that are kind of arbitrary. Like, I know my souped up, fully maxed out MacBook Pro that cost me $3,500 is going to last me a few years. So the percentage here is much smaller. I know that I'll use this for anywhere from 50 to 100 gigs in a year. So in this case, 3% gives me an even $100 fee. I don't have a truly justified number for this, but what I know is that I want to make sure a more expensive device like a camera or computer that can cost in the thousands will get paid off within 1 year before it is completely outdated and has lost its value. All of these items add value to what I'm bringing to the table because they allow me to put on a successful show. And when I put on a successful show, I know that I can guarantee the client will get a better end result. I can't quantify the end result, but I can quantify what I bring to the table, which directly correlates to a better result. So I realize this is a lot of information on pricing. Let's continue this conversation in the comment section below. I want to hear how you've been pricing out your live stream and videography services. So let's have a transparent talk about where your numbers are at, and perhaps we can help out a few other colleagues to realize that this isn't a limitation of the geographic region you are in. Stop making excuses that you can't charge more. Public speaker Eric Thomas once said, "Someone took that same situation that you've been complaining about and won with it." It's so true. I know you can be charging more. So how about that like and subscribe? See you in the comment section.